What's going on, everybody? Joe here with Excursion Cuts. On December 15th, 2018, DJI released their newest handheld gimbal called the DJI OSMO Pocket. Fits in this thing. Really small, really convenient. I picked one up on the 15th, had an opportunity to kind of put it through its paces, take it on a few trips, and see if it might be something that could make my life a little bit easier when I'm capturing footage for all of my travel videography. Let's take a look at it. I'll share some of my experiences with you and see if it's something that may help you out on your travel videos. This is the first camera I'm aware of that has the name Pocket in the name that actually lives up to the name. It is small enough to actually and practically put it in your pocket. It fits inside of this. I'm actually filming with it right now, so it just kind of explains some of the versatility of this thing. Obviously, it's a handheld gimbal camera that will track you. It's got, pretty good face detection in it. So you can see a picture of the camera behind me. I'm actually using it to film right now, but it's got some features that I think are going to come in really handy for travel videography in particular. Not the least of which is how small this thing is. I mean, it really can fit in your front pocket, your jacket pocket. It's super, super small. Can be connected to your phone to expand the functionality of the camera, but DJI recently released a firmware update that put a lot of control back in the device itself. Really, almost at this point, there's only a couple of features that are useful for you on the phone. Some of the highlighting features on this camera are 4K at 24 frames per second, 60 frames per second, and 30 frames per second. We've got 120 frames per second slow-mo at 1080p, which is a nice touch. It will crop the image a little bit if you're going into slow-mo mode, but again, 120 frames per second, pictures coming out looking pretty good. I think what really sets this camera apart and makes it a really good choice for travel videography is the fact that DJI decided to use the gimbal for far more than just stabilizing your shots. You can do things like panos, where it'll actually move the gimbal, snap a couple of pictures, stitch them all together for you, and put that in the camera. The face tracking feature, like I said, I've got right now, the gimbal is what's moving right now to keep me in the shot. Now, conversely, I can flip the thing around, point the camera at someone else, and actually draw a box around them, and it'll track human faces. And it works really, really well. You can set the thing down, you can put it on a tripod, you can have it just follow you around while you vlog. It's a really good choice. It has a motion lapse feature, not to be confused with a hyperlapse, but a motion lapse is basically a time lapse in which the gimbal you can actually set it up to move. So the gimbal can actually pan and tilt throughout your time lapse, so it looks like you had it on a rotating, like a motion slider or something like that. If you're familiar with DJI's products like their drones, it works like waypoints. You can just kind of set up 2 to 3 different points, and it'll, like I said, pan or tilt the camera so that you've got some motion in your time lapse. It is a halfway decent choice for vlogging. Now, I'm not using an external microphone. I did that on purpose just to kind of show you what the audio will sound like. And while I do process my audio in post, you'll get a feel for what you can get, if you do give it a little bit of love in post-production. I actually made this video just a few days ago, and I spent the better part of it criticizing DJI for a lack of a firmware update, and coincidentally, I captured all the footage and then DJI released the update that night. But basically what happened was there were some YouTubers who got their hands on pre-production models of the DJI OSMO Pocket that had features that the production models ended up lacking. So they were able to play with a Cine-like D picture profile. There was a feature called a story that was on the Mimo app, both of which were just recently added a couple of days ago. So now, in addition to having pro-level control on the device itself and not having to connect it to the phone anymore, you get those 2 features on top. When I travel, I spend a lot of time capturing footage, and it's usually weeks after I get back, after a ton of post-processing and everything, that I'll actually start sharing things from my trip. I don't actually share anything when I'm on the trip itself. So that story feature is actually kind of cool. It just works with templates. It'll basically coach you along capturing a couple of clips. It cuts it together with various effects like light leaks and cool transitions and stuff like that. Then it renders a file that you can easily share on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. So I think it's kind of cool. You get music with it. So I'm more apt to share things on the trip itself if it's going to look more polished. And I think that's going to come in nice and handy. There are a lot of videos right now that are comparing the DJI Osmo Pocket to the GoPro Hero 7, and for good reason. The GoPro Hero 7 is touting a lot of stabilization features, and it does do really well. But I kind of think that's comparing apples and oranges. They are very different cameras. The Osmo Pocket's not an action camera. It's not water resistant, waterproof, or anything like that. You drop it, you're probably going to break it. Like I said, though, DJI are utilizing that gimbal to do much more than simply stabilizing video footage. The story feature that I just mentioned a minute ago on the Mimo app, one of the things it can do is it can do kind of like this tilting motion with the gimbal while you're recording so that the entire picture moves during the transitions and stuff like that. So they were pretty slick in the way that they thought that out. Comes with a case. The case, when you power down the Osmo Pocket, it actually flips the gimbal so that it can easily slide into this case, and it's protective. The USB-C connector for connecting to your phone, it can actually stick out through this little hole right here. We've also got a hole on the bottom so that you can charge the unit without actually taking it out of the case, which is pretty cool. The gimbal itself works really well. Because it's a smaller unit, if you've ever worked with a handheld gimbal before, they all kind of suffer from this up and down movement. If you're doing forward walking, you're going to have to work on your ninja walk game if you are going to be using this one. That movement is a lot more apparent on this simply because it's so small. It's not weighted and it's not going to feel really balanced. If your arm is out, you're going to get a lot of this, going down the street. Another area where I thought this really shined when it came to my travels was the fact that it's really easy to use. It's stupid simple to use. And you can pass this off to somebody who doesn't have a lot of experience with cameras, and you can expect some pretty decent results. Like I said, it automatically tracks faces. If you put it in selfie mode, it'll follow you automatically. You can have it drawing a boxer in somebody's face is really easy to do. Anybody can really pick this thing up and capture some really cool shots with it. That's pretty much it for my final thoughts there on the Osmo Pocket, folks. Appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this video. If you're new here, I cover video tutorials for travel photography, travel videography. I appreciate your support. By the way, an easy way to do that is if you are planning on picking up an Osmo Pocket, you can use the affiliate link below. That's a nice way to help me support the channel, help me grow the channel. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care.